Well, well, well. We were both right tonight, Joe. We were both right. Sometimes we can both be right. We can both be right. But the Carolina Hurricanes getting it done tonight against the Washington Capitals. We have reached my favorite part of playoff discussion. When you take a 3-1 series lead, folks, it is a commanding 3-1 series lead. You could say that the Washington Capitals are on the brink of elimination going into Thursday's matchup back in D.C. This was yet another clinic in how the Canes are resilient and putting in the work and overcoming some miscues, some moments with Alexander Ovechkin to still find themselves back on top. A rare first period goal tonight. But I'll tell you where the game ultimately changed for me, and that was towards the end of the second period when Martinook got a double minor for a high stick. And that's 4 minutes of penalty kill. They went into the intermission with 24 seconds. They killed it off. They got that energy, and they immediately got on the board right out of that. I thought at that point it was pretty much a wrap. But Alexander Ovechkin was not going to be denied in this series. And if that man was not going to score on a 5-on-3, then it was never going to happen. And sure enough, right from his spot, made this game kind of dicey. But again, the Canes continued. Not dicey, but they put the Canes back on their heels a little bit, but the Canes answered, which is what they've done throughout this entire series.
Yeah, the Martinook penalty came at the end of the first period.
Oh, sorry, the first period. My bad.
So they're up 1-0 at that point, and special teams are really deciding this series, if you want to get me super hockey about now. Washington, pure and simple, dominated the first 7-8 minutes of this game. Freddie was very good in those first 7-8 minutes, saving them again. My guy, McMichael, who scored all those goals in the regular season. You know, the problem with having a bunch of jabronis score 20 goals is they score 20 over 82 games, and you get this false sense of what you really are. And I say that as someone who follows the Hurricanes, and the Hurricanes have had plenty of guys score 20 goals who cannot find the back of the net in the playoffs. So a huge save on Michael right out of the gate again.
Yeah.
I was impressed with Freddie again in the first period. Your number one penalty killer is your goalie. So those 4 minutes, especially with Martinook, one of your true penalty killers in the box. And it's not only that they killed off the 4 minutes, Joe. The Caps weren't even a threat.
No, the Canes on the kill.
For the first 2 minutes of it, I was like, do you guys know what the assignment is?
Up until the 5-on-3, which I know people were not happy with, but it is what it is.
5-on-3 was garbage.
It was garbage.
The 5-on-3 was the NBA giving the fucking Mavericks the number one overall pick. Like
the Canes with, I'm sorry, the Capitals with a 1.8 chance, 1.8% chance to win.
My guy Brad Frisch is mad at me, but the truth of the matter is that did the hit by Orlov on that play on Tom Wilson did not reach the levels of 5-on-3 penalties.
The point that I was
in the playoffs. I'm sorry, it just did not.
The point that I was making though is that the Capitals on the power play had less shots on goal than the Canes did on the kill tonight. And then again, to your point, that's where it gets back to the special teams if you want to get all hockey-y. Shout out to our guy Chris Woodring. Sorry, I'm tired. My voice is going to give out on me here. Chris, Blooming Blinds. Let's go, boys. Yes, indeed. The After Dark is brought to you by our friends at Blooming Blinds. Chris, hockey dad, fellow hockey dad, Mr. Hockey wants to make sure that your house has everything you need when it comes to your blinds, even down to repair. So call him right now, 919-980-9815. And with our After Dark specials, you get 10 or more window treatments. You're going to get 10% off. But understand, it's a whole bunch of other stuff that you can do right down to repair. So call our guys at Bloomin' Blinds. They're local, 919-980-9815. Mike Maniscalco is going to join us here in a little bit to take us home.
Another classic effort from the Canes, though, Joe. I covered about 20 games for the AP this year. Let me tell you what they make you write now for the AP. They make you write like who scores like more than one goal. They make you write, so-and-so had so many saves in a shutout. There's a format for it. Like there's no room for artistic creativity. I can't tell you how many times this year, other than the Jordan Staal hat trick, so let's call it 19 of the 20 games, I would have to write like 4 different players' names. Like so-and-so scored the game winner, and then 4 other players scored in the Canes 5-2 win. Another classic Canes game tonight with 5 different players scoring. The Ghost, Shane Gostisbehere, breaking my heart just slightly because I had an Orlov and Burns ticket to be the first scorer, but keeping up with the random defender to score a goal for the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
I thought they recovered from that first 8 minutes or so where Washington dominated.
Yeah.
The second period, you're right. After Jarvis scored, after the end of the continued penalty, it was 2-0. It was a dominant Canes, another dominant 20 minutes for the Canes. You get to the third period, my boy, Chicky.
Your guy can't. Well,
Chicky.
So that's the thing that
makes it 2-1.
Yes.
Puts a little bit of pressure on the Canes. That was really Matt Roy's goal, by the way. It was a great pass from Roy. Then I thought it's 2-1. There's pressure in the building. And what do we get? A really smart play by Jack Roslovich.
Mm-hmm.
He scores the power play goal the previous game. This time, deep at his own end. I love that they got rid of the 2-line pass. Yes, I know. I'm bringing it back again in 2002. They get rid of that 2-line pass. Taylor Hall sitting at that blue line.
Yeah.
A, great find by Roslovich. B, excellent job by Hall to stay on sides. Controls the puck, beats Logan Thompson 3-1. See you later. Good night, Capitals.
It started before that, though. On the Chychrun goal at 14:42, the Canes, for whatever reason, after the first two periods, and including that Jarvis goal, looked like they had complete control of this game. It looked like Washington was not necessarily interested in playing at times. Alexander Ovechkin was highly frustrated. Tom Wilson was, as Luke DeCock put on Blue Sky, we got the full Tom Wilson experience tonight. From the dumb smiles to the you were diving or faking it, whatever, embellishing whatever it was. But he also was at moments not looking like the Tom Wilson we expect. Not coming through, not finishing on hits, that kind of stuff. But the Canes,
it's good to know I coached the Capitals up and reunited Wilson with Ovechkin.
But you're mentioning the Hall response. I got that, but I thought the response actually started before that, because after it looked like the Canes were pretty much, as I jotted down here, all sorts of out of sync.
Wait,
what?
Mike, hold up that. Do they not let you leave the booth?
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you have to pee, dude? Like, what is that? Hold on a second. Grab the mic. Just grab the mic.
I dump about 8 Ricolas in here.
Are you good? You good, man?
I'm great.
Okay, good.
No, so you can't when your voice is scratchy.
Yeah.
And
you can't suck on a
cough drop. So the writer, I'm going to try to give Gilio a, instead of drinking bourbon, which I would love to do during a game, but I can't.
Yeah.
When the voice is scratchy, you can't suck on a cough drop.
Right. Yeah.
And call the game. So a long time ago, I learned how to cheat by dropping cough drops into a bottle of water.
Interesting. So that's what I like that. Right.
And so in this case, normally, it used to be the Cherry Halls, but this was Ricola. I brought out the big guns.
Yeah.
So that was like lemon herb. It looks like that. And no, they don't let me leave the booth. So
no, you can't do that. No. So let's start with this part of it. The Canes looked out of sync. I know
it looked too.
The Canes looked out of sync on the Chychrun goal, and I understand that I was prepared. I actually got a text from a buddy of mine, and like, I know you hate the Burns discourse. I'm like, I'm sorry. All I saw earlier today was good stick from Brent Burns. But I thought that the play went back to what we expected out of the Canes immediately after that. It actually started at 12:30. The Canes essentially were back on their shit, and there was a great sequence in front of Thompson that Alexander Ovechkin got a great shot. It didn't go in, but it carried over the effect that I think finally set up that Taylor Hall goal, which, again, that was the response. And I'm like, it doesn't matter what happens the rest of the night. The Canes are going to find a response.
Well, let's do the one thing first. Once people lock on or obsess about something being a problem, it's always a problem.
Yes.
No matter how good or, when it plays bad, then you get,
but Mike, I got a Galaxy brand take for you on that.
That's fine. But
I got one for you.
Let's give Matt Roy some credit for making that play for Washington. He's been, I think, Washington's best defenseman in the series by a mile defensively. So he goes and sets up that play. And look, it's going to happen. Mistakes are going to happen, or a misplay, however you want to look at it. But sometimes the other team just makes a hell of a play. And in watching that's what I saw from Roy. He makes a hell of a play to get the pass across. And Chychrun, it was going to take something special to beat Freddie again here tonight. As he went over 105 minutes without allowing a goal. The thing that I liked about Carolina, if I could get this just out of the way quickly, is they played like the team that needed to win tonight to even the series from the get-go. There was no waiting for them to get the game on the rails or get on their toes. They were ready to start the game. And I'll be brutally honest with you. I don't know if Washington has an answer for that to push this to 7 games. They might have an answer in game number 5.
Mm-hmm.
They might. They've already won at home, but they had all of the power plays tonight stacked up for them early and couldn't score.
Couldn't generate shots.
And that to me is you look for, okay, what's the refrain of this series? Yeah, they've been blocking a lot of shots, and the whole shot volume thing has become a storyline for whatever reason. It's what they've done all year. So why do something different? I get it. I know.
Nationals got to cling on to something.
I know, but this is the kind of hockey that you want to see out of Carolina. What we've seen the last 2 games. I'll even be fair. What we've seen the last 5 periods in this building. The first period in game 3, give to Washington. They were ready to go. They were the better team. They should have had a better fate than 20 minutes, but the Canes survived that. And since then, they have just been the better team. And you know what I love? They don't fall for any of the crap that Wilson or them are trying to do post whistle.
When the Washington Capitals don't have a team that engages with them, you kind of find out that they don't have anything, with the exception of the fact. And the one thing that I kind of harped on going into today's game is that we're not going to go through this series without Alexander Ovechkin having something.
Oh yeah.
And I thought tonight would be as we joked about earlier, Joe likes to call it the "fuck you, we're still Clemson" game. I thought tonight might be a kind of night where we're like, yeah, man, I'm still Alexander Ovechkin, and I'm going to get on the board. Didn't happen until late. We don't have to relitigate the 5-on-3. It is what it is. We've said what we said about it. But that's the one thing that would give me pause, is that regardless of what you think about Washington, they still have a higher end skill. Like Joe joked about, he coached him up today.
I did.
With that top line to put it out there. But again, it gets back to something that I know our comment section has mentioned. I know we've talked about it. I think tonight is yet another example of this. Let's get back on that national stuff. There's this, the Canes haven't, performed well in the Eastern Conference Finals. They've been in the playoffs 7 straight years, but ... Rod Brind'Amour as a coach is growing. The core group has this playoff experience that is finally building, right? These are things that we've talked about, and I think tonight is another aspect of that.
And they've never
playoff experience matters.
And they've never been this good on the power play under Rod Brind'Amour.
Yeah.
Ever.
In the playoffs.
In the playoffs.
Ever.
I'm going to use this.
Meanwhile, Washington might be out in the second round again.
Yeah.
What a concept.
And let's remember, Alexander Ovechkin never made it out of the second round until they won the Stanley Cup.
Right.
So there is that. But this is something that I will use that Washington team for me as a parallel.
Sure.
Because every year, they're not going to do it. They have the most talented team, and then they get knocked out by Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins, or they get knocked out by the Islanders. And for me, for the Canes to not only just win a playoff series every year, and I'm going to call it a playoff series, even though it wasn't in that Rangers bubble thing, because I don't want to hurt my brain here tonight, but it's to do what they've done. And I think now this group understands, okay, this is how we have to play. This is what it is to get there. Now let's see what happens. Anything can happen. This series isn't over. As somebody who has lived through 2004 when the Red Sox came back on the Yankees, which was a moral certitude would never happen. I will never say never in a playoff series, but this Canes team reminds me a lot of that Caps team that everybody said they were going to win. And then the year they gave up on the Caps, they go and win the Stanley Cup in 2018 when everybody already punted on them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fine. And let it be that way.
Well, some of that is related to the Mikko Rantanen trade, and Taylor Hall got on the board tonight, obviously. That was a huge goal, and that's to your point about giving up on the Canes. After the Mikko Rantanen saga, a lot of people just simply checked out on the Canes. And
fold the franchise.
Paul Biassinet is somewhere, right? So anyway, he's back in the studio. But the thing is, and something that we've seen enough sports, all you got to do here is get here, man. And when you get that chip on your shoulder, I think that carries over. And sometimes the teams that you don't expect to do it might just freaking do it. Now, again, I know I'm putting the cart before the horse, but let's recognize there's a lot of things that are going right for the Canes, even after the Mikko Rantanen stuff. And I think finally, after this style of hockey, the style of this series is whatever. I'm sorry, if you watch the game tonight, I don't know how you have any other takeaway than, damn, man, that's impressive.
Yeah, I don't. I feel like James Carville in old school. You said it all. That's perfect.
All right, Mike, thanks for coming through.
No, but I mean, this goes back to, when when did I have my meltdown that everybody loved it?
That was game one.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
won, and it's the same old Canes.
That's right. That's right.
Well, the same old Canes just win every year.
Yeah.
And I know, folks. I'm not trying to be. I hate like the people who wag fingers and admonish. I hate it. But sometimes you get painted in that corner because you're like, can you not see the forest for the trees here?
Yeah.
For what's been going on, and I think part of me is, as Joe knows, the PTSD of hosting post-game shows for 9 years where you knew there was like almost no chance of the postseason.
Or it was it came down to the last game and oh no, they
yeah,
lost.
I mean,
oh no, the team that needed to lose didn't lose.
Yeah, but Craig Anderson's going to make 51 saves in a nothing game for Florida.
Of course,
if only. I mean, those are the things that
right.
Those are the things that happen. But the thing about this team, and I'll go back to it, if they play like that, they can beat anybody in the league.
Yeah,
and I think they know it. But
if Freddie's playing like that,
but to Joe Giglio's point, but now you sprinkle in the power play, the penalty kill. In years past, like you run into Tampa or when the Rangers just had an insane power play, you were going to give up power play goals. You needed your power play to just offset it a little bit. If they get two, get one. Well, now you're getting that, and the penalty kill is giving up nothing. They've only allowed 2 power play goals all postseason. One's a 5-on-3 here, where nobody was stopping that. But I look at how this team is playing right now, and sometimes you're like, there's something about this team. Does that mean they win the whole damn thing? I don't know, but there's something about them where they ain't gonna go quiet.
Look, man, it's going from they'll make the playoffs, rebuild year. Dundon told us a while back, our window is different from your window and how we view these things, and it's paying off right now and how these things are playing off. Real quick, Galaxy brain.
Let's hear it.
I saw Alexander Ovechkin on the ice today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What that mean, Mike?
I think that meant that they wanted to give him a taste of what it's like to come out here and experience the playoff juice that you get.
No, man. That was hearing the skates hit the ice and Dmitry Orlov and Brent Burns were going, oh no, I got to step my game up. I'm going to actually credit Alexander Ovechkin for the win tonight.
Because of his warm-up.
Just because of the warm-up.
I mean,
it's fair.
Who am I to argue with that? Although I will say,
I feel like Kent on Sports would do that. He would get a good point. Like,
our guy Kent would be like,
look at this warm up. Look at this guy,
Alexander Ovechkin. This is the next big thing for the Carolina Hurricanes, and I'm telling you why he was factoring into tonight's play. But no, I think
let me just add one thing about Dmitry Orlov.
Shout out to Kent Sports.
Save the penalty he took that gave it a 5-on-3. He's been good in this series.
He's been good in this series. He's in the playoffs.
Come on now. Let's get into it a little bit because he won't engage me here.
Oh, I will.
What?
Was that an egregious level of a let me give a team a 5-on-3 in the playoffs type penalty? Yes, I know by the letter of law it was a penalty. But we saw a guy get clobbered over the brain up in New Jersey, and it was like, no, you're not getting a 5-on-3 because I don't see any of the brain matter on the ice.
We saw it in this series. Tom Wilson in game 1 absolutely tackled Andrei Svechnikov.
Knowing the rules.
Yes.
You're not getting a 5-on-3.
I really hate throwing any kind of lighter fluid on that fire.
Do it.
But you're not wrong. I'm not going to say you're right, but the slight difference between you're not wrong, because in that situation, they are looking letter of the law to give. And I'm not saying that they want because I don't want to get into this rabbit hole.
Was this a Wings place to put the call in? Making sure the game goes a little longer? Is that what happened here?
This league has done so many things throughout the years for conspiracy theorists to sit there.
It's no NBA.
It's my favorite thing is, I had to hear for years from people that it was Ed Snyder, who owned the Philadelphia Flyers, and Jeremy Jacobs for the Bruins, who run the league.
Sure.
And
all those cups.
Exactly. All of it that they won during that time.
Right.
And then you have to hear that it's Toronto. Toronto doesn't have.
Just wait till next round.
Toronto doesn't have an owner. It's more of a quorum. But now it's Florida. That Viola and Vinnick run the league because it's folks.
Yes, the NHL truly wants Sunrise to be the center of the NHL universe. Of course they do.
Well, no, they don't mind the non-traditional hockey markets winning.
I know.
But then that flies in the face of, don't they want the original 6 teams to win? Which, by the way, do you know how many original 6 teams were in the playoffs this year?
0.
No. Toronto and Montreal.
Oh, Toronto and Montreal. Sorry.
You had no Rangers, no Boston,
no Detroit.
That's right. No Chicago.
That was the stat that. Sorry, that's my bad.
That's fine.
My sleepiness is kicking in here. I remember seeing that stat making the rounds, and people were like, "What does this mean for television ratings?"
By the way,
been fine.
Can I absolutely tell you guys that it is galling me that my voice feels so good and sounds good right now. And during the game, when I wanted to get excited, I felt like an old man yelling for soup at a deli.
Jeez.
But no, to just go to Joe's point, because I don't want to give. It's the hardest sport in the league, the hardest sport in the world to officiate in real time.
Yeah.
So, and in fairness to them, on the next questionable call, they gave it to the Canes, which was also very hockey-like.
I mean, but it is. But you could say by the letter that was a penalty, and you can do that. But yeah, I think in that situation, the referees are looking for, hey, don't impede them in any way because the arm will go up. I do believe that. It doesn't mean that they want one team to win. I just think that they're saying you got to look at it this way.
The reason why I don't want to engage with it, Joe, is because it gets back to the point that I was starting off with when Mike sat down. It doesn't matter.
No, in the outcome of this game, it did,
not with the way
even
the Canes,
in the play of the game,
and not with the way the Canes have been playing.
Right.
I had no doubts in the third period that all right, Ovechkin got his. I have little doubt that the Carolina Hurricanes.
That's now his last 2 goals in this building are purely off of fucking 5-on-3 gifts.
But
I'm just being honest with you.
But to your point,
that's fine. That's fine. But he didn't get the record though here.
No.
So at least he didn't do that.
And not to be devil's advocate to you, but to back up the Giglio point for me.
Yeah.
There's a minute 17 left in the first penalty when that gets called.
Right.
And they score I think 11 seconds into it.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a minute in my mind, I'm like, if they score early on that 5-on-3, now they're going to have a bunch of time left on it. Yeah. And now
I get it.
No, now does the greatest goal scorer in hockey history feel good?
Yeah.
And get are they going to feed that machine that we've seen?
But given the tenor of the game, I understand what you're saying, and I don't want to contradict myself with the way the high level players on the Washington Capitals can respond to this stuff. I just thought from a total team effort, the Canes had shown consistently they were going to find a way to do that.
Yeah.
And again, I'll go back to tired, screwed up my periods when this happened, but my point still stands. I think you got the tenor of the game from the 4-minute double minor high stick.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, but that was a clinic in how they were clearing the pucks, keeping these things going, getting the building fired up. And you cannot, I know people get they roll their eyes about the loudest house and the atmosphere.
There's something to it.
No, this place is electric in moments like that. And I'm highly convinced that that's what carried over into the start of the next period, and Jarvis gets his goal. Yeah. So, those are the things that just kind of illustrated to me, regardless of what the Washington Capitals were going to do, Canes had an answer. And I think that's going to carry over. Look, you were right about this being quick. I put too much reliance on Ovechkin. I put too much reliance on a guy like Tom Wilson being a pain in the ass, that this was probably going to go 6. But now I can clearly be on board with this getting wrapped up on Thursday.
This also gets back to Freddie again with the early save on McMichael.
Yes. He is.
These are the kind of things that we just haven't seen in the past. He's playing at a different level. The team is responding to him. The building is responding to him, to your point. And I was going to say, Mike, Saturday was quite an abortion on my end. So, today we're much better here. We're doing much better. But we did make one salient point. I made one salient point on Saturday. The second round has a tendency to get late early.
That's what I was saying.
And now you look back at it in Rod's 14 series. He's won 3 in 5 games or less. You have New Jersey in the first round. You have the second round against the Islanders, his only sweep.
Yep.
And the second round from 23 against the Devils in 5 games. So this second round, when a team like the Canes can smell a little blood, and go back to that Tampa series too, by the way.
Yeah.
When they lost to Tampa, that was one of those hey man, second round, this isn't time to fuck around and find out. This is time for you to get the hell out of my way, because I'm on my way to 16 wins.
Once that snowball starts rolling downhill and picking up that momentum. And I joked about this with Justin Williams. I should pay him every time I use this, which is
he doesn't need your money.
I know,
but he's good.
But he had the greatest line ever about this is what the playoffs are about.
Yeah.
You let your opponent know exactly how hard it is going to be to beat you, how hard it's going to be to win the series, and then you lean on them. And then you get some teams when you start leaning on them and they're looking at like, we've thrown every punch we have. We got nothing left.
Yeah.
It turns into this is for you, no moss.
That's
you're gonna throw in the towel, and
that gets with the punches. I mean, honestly, every punch that they had, the Canes could take it back. So.
But this is a Caps team, and the only thing that's missing really to back Giglio's play is if Washington won the President's Trophy, but then they wouldn't have gotten out of the first round.
There it is.
Did you remember that night when they were here and Rod said, and I clipped it. Because he's like, well, they have nothing to play for. Well, except for, well, everyone knows. And then he just goes, there's just in real life, a dot. See? And the Jets, by the way, yeah, they're on the clock.
Still around though.
On the clock.
But I look at the last 5 periods of this series, and that's what the Canes did. Mm-hmm. They've leaned on Washington and let them know exactly how hard it's going to be for them to win this series. Again, stranger things have happened. But in this one, I just think Washington has to get in front of the game on Thursday, or as the Hurricanes have shown,
they've tried to get in front of the game the last 2 games.
It's the odd thing about this to me is with what Washington has and what they built this year in the regular season with McMichael and Protas. I'm not just talking about Ovechkin or Wilson, who had a great year, in Strome, who had 67 assists and all of that. That they, and Spencer Carberry said it, they are not built to try to come back in a game. Yeah. They are the team that's built to, we jump out to the lead, and now you got to go through us. So I think Thursday night, if the Canes get the first goal in that building, it could be, as in the words of a few smart guys, it's going to be early in that game.
Are you done with your PJ? Your Goldschlager, whatever that was, the Malort in a bottle.
Yeah, the Malort.
Yeah. Okay.
It's you
need some Fernet to clear things out.
The Malort is a botanical. I'll have you know.
I understand. You need a little Underberg
for medicinal purposes.
Of course.
Yeah, by the way, anybody who willingly, I love the city of Chicago. It's one of my favorite places.
Malort bottles in here if you want.
We have airplane bottles.
I'll sneak one in.
What's wrong with you two?
We're free.
Seriously,
do whatever we want.
I get that, but if you're free, bring in the good stuff.
What?
Why are we? What are we? This isn't high school where we just grab whatever you can grab.
No, when we finally get the OG Light in cans,
bring you the Gilbert's gin in the airplane bottle.
We'll bring you the real beer flavored beer.
We need to bring OG Light down to the post game.
We
for
will.
The little bucket. We'll give it to Tom downstairs and have him set it up.
That'll work out. A little OG Light. All right, man. Save the voice. We'll talk to you Thursday.
Boys, thank you. Is there before you let me go, one last thing that we can end this with, or we good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
No, that's it.
I don't know why.
You're like, the Ethernet works today. The audio works today.
I'm sorry. I'm not Roy Cooper.
No.
By the way,
that's the other thing.
The smile on this man's face when he saw Roy Cooper on the screen.
Oh yeah.
It was adorable.
I'm gonna blame this here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like there should be a step-by-step and a troubleshooting. And here's what I got today to everybody who is a huge fan of the OG podcast.
Yeah, Mike and I.
And why wouldn't you be? And this is what I got
today.
here. I don't want to say that somebody can be a little nonchalant or dismissive of things.
Me? No.
Did I name names?
He said he didn't want to be. He didn't want to say.
But I don't want to say it, but I'm talking about Ovius right now to his face.
I've waited years for these moments.
I know.
I'm free too.
Exactly.
But he comes in and I go, you should have given him step-by-step instructions. And the answer was, he'd done this before.
Yes.
And my answer was going to be, well, it didn't look like it.
Well, what I did not account, this is where I will own the mistake. The one thing that I did not account for was No. The one thing I did not account for was you juggling on like somebody here with you with and somebody on StreamYard at the same time.
I now have
if it was just you and Mike, if it was just you and Mike, then it would have been fine.
It would have been better, but we were still glitching with the Ethernet.
Well, you can't do anything about it. And just like as I troubleshooted drunk from a wedding, it was you explained to me. You did a good job explaining like what's like tell me the Rodecaster screen. What are you looking at? And it was a Roy Cooper connection issue.
Okay,
it was not a you issue.
Okay,
I told you that.
Okay, and so this is the right spot for that second
everything
camera.
Is right.
Okay,
everything is right. It was all good. It's all good.
I'm more relaxed because I do not have brooding Luke DeCock over my shoulder
Well,
right now.
We had a double combo.
Well,
Luke, I love you.
Levers like the
is-
Wizard of Oz.
I know.
you know what? You can't tell.
I'm making ice cream over here. I'm Sebastian Maniscalco. Mike's trying his best to keep it straight. He's got the fucking former governor with him. He's trying to have some class. And I'm over here sweating like a whore in church. And Mike is just like,
It's okay. It's okay. It's a professional.
okay.
And you know what? And Luke can't tell Luke anything right now. That man is bathing in Himalayan sea salt scrub down in Amelia Island, Florida, right now.
Hey, maybe he'll get on one-on-one with Bill Belichick.
Well, he's supposed to be on ESPN tomorrow.
There we
so,
go.
Shocker. The hard reset is coming.
It's just I've been Luke had the one line for me, so I just was waiting to throw one back at Luke because I'm like, Luke, I will get out of here right now.
Right now.
You can pick up this baton. I want off of this ride.
Luke has places to be.
Yes, he does.
We know this.
Yes, he does.
We know this about Luke. We love Luke. All right, man.
Down in Florida, what are you going to do? Open a bar?
Later, man. So Thursday,
Cocktails and drinks.
Mike will join us. Please take care of the voice. Please do that. We'll get through some comments here.
Yeah, we got a lot tonight. So thank you for everyone for jumping on there.
Yeah.
All the comments on Saturday were like, please find Ovius. Please don't ever do the podcast without him again.
That's fine.
Yeah, I've also decided that the next time that you're somewhere,
Yeah.
I'm just going to go back to the studio because I know everything will work there. And I know how everything works there.
Okay.
That was one of my other lessons.
It's all good, man. It's all
I
good.
know. I
From
know.
Justin, I wish I could Mortal Kombat meme this, finish them on Thursday night. Yeah, that's absolutely on the table. We're already looking ahead. Jonathan's already looking ahead for the Eastern Conference Finals. Toronto's firepower and better defense this year, or Panthers' grittiness.
Well, if you
Not sure what we want to play against.
if you'll rewind just slightly
Yeah.
in game whatever it was 5 against New Jersey, maybe even game 3 when they're whenever they were back here winning, I told you they're going to beat Washington. They're going to get through Washington. It's confidence. It's a matchup.
Yeah.
And New Jersey was a favorable matchup as well. And the rubber's about to hit the road here because this is where you see, can they sustain that power play? Can Freddie, one thing we haven't thought about is Freddie in Toronto. Like I am not.
What is this like?
No. I'm not casting aspersions on Freddie. What I'm saying to you though is he is skittish here.
So
with
what's
the
it
media.
going to be like up
And
there?
it's because he's been scarred by his time in Toronto.
Yeah.
Like he is legitimately like
Have David Ayers
getting-
Ayers do the media for him.
that's fine. But what I'm getting at is I think that second round now becomes ultra an intriguing matchup. Whether either way, right? Florida coming back, tying that thing. Florida picking up Marchand was just that's what champions do.
Yes.
You make moves like that. You say fuck the next 2 or 3 years. You make a move and say, if I could put my name back on this thing, that's what we're gonna do.
And he's all in on the joke with being the Rat King down where they toss rats on the ice.
Yeah. So I love what the Canes have done here in this building. Now 5-0 in these playoffs. They now finally have a winning record on Mondays.
that's a deep cut right
Huge.
there. That's
huge.
huge.
Since we're tracking these days of the week, it's really the only thing that matters, right?
Yeah.
So looking forward to them on Thursday, taking care of business. But yeah, I just think that third round could be electric.
This from Steven. Julia was right. Series equals over. What else do we have here? Wilson with the storm surge clap and raise up taunts were soft as fuck. Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of see, it's interesting. We mentioned on the main podcast today, and Hayes Perma over at the Rialto, which, hey, get your sports podcast tickets today. Go to therialto.com and buy yours today. You can even do a twofer. You can get the Sklar Brothers and the Podcast Festival for one low price. And Hayes caused like Caps fans to get all of their feels about Tom Wilson. Like all are welcome except Tom Wilson. It's a freaking joke. And I heard going into this series from the hockey knowers, the hockey enthusiast, about how, hey, Tom Wilson, anybody would take him on their team. I don't disagree with that sentiment. Right. I think everybody understands Tom Wilson is that dude. He's a little bit of sandpaper, which the Carolina Hurricanes have people have talked about what they lack. But he's not on the Carolina Hurricanes. And while I can recognize his game, I can also recognize that he is a jerk. He is that guy. That's what he does. And when things aren't going their way, you see that true colors come out, and you can spare me all the, yeah, but, ... Yeah, but. what you're seeing is softness when things go against them. And we saw it in game 3 with everybody mad at Tom Wilson with the headhunting. At the end of the day, you kind of still are what you are, even if you're not what you were, but you still have those tendencies. You can still grow as a player, but you are what you are. Okay.
I like that.
So and again, I say this as somebody who would admit if Tom Wilson were a Carolina Hurricane, yeah, man, you'll ride for that dude, but he's not. So you can spare me the hockey splaining that I get from other people about, well, yeah, bullshit. I don't care. What I saw tonight was a guy who was clearly in his head because the Carolina Hurricanes were not biting with what he was trying out there to sell. So it's as simple as that. Let's see. Yeah.
Let's give this one a shout.
Yeah. I love that Wilson was annoyed by the surge. What else we got here?
I like this. Props to the Lenovo crew.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Man, they've been grinding here in the last couple of days.
Dude,
we got another.
It's not over,
and we got Pearl Jam tomorrow. I've been talked into Pearl Jam tomorrow,
so it's happening.
I'm on like 95%, whatever the ESPN like probability, like like win probability. I'm at 95%.
Shout out to listener Chris who reached out, and I secured the tickets, and my father-in-law and Caleb are going to go, so they're going to have a good experience. From Mike Jones, real question: did Ovia's blind poor John Forsland? Yeah, Forsland was doing the national radio call behind us.
Okay,
and when he showed where he was, like here's today's office, I realized, oh no. I'll be sitting in front of Forsland, and I apologized in advance for the glare coming off the top of my dome. So hopefully,
or you made the joke first.
I made the joke first. Okay. I don't need y'all making those jokes, man. I don't need y'all making those jokes. From Harry, Dr. Giglio took the hit on the Caps money line
tonight. No, I did not bet on this game. I took Orlov, Burns to score first.
Mm-hmm.
That was it, and I had Ovechkin actually to score first too.
Okay,
but that was it.
Gotcha. Let's see. What else do we have?
I have Edmonton 2-0 right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oilers are doing that thing where they're like,
from
these two guys we have.
From Will, he's referring to Tom Wilson, would love him on the Canes. Can't even pretend I wouldn't. Nobody. Everybody understands
the size, and he did have a very good goal scoring year this year. The Capitals really do. We didn't talk about this tonight, and we haven't really talked about it on the main pod. You made this point at the end of the regular season going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They expended a lot of energy, in my opinion, getting Ovechkin the record. And
I'm sorry. I didn't realize Rialto was side talked about the main broadcast today.
Cool.
Tom isn't welcome there. You know what? Good.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I got distracted by that. You were saying.
I think they poured it out a little bit. And now they do look like a tired team to me.
Yes.
They look like a team like it requires some of this energy that they're not getting from, Wilson and some of their other gigantic players. Pierre-Luc Dubois, like, dear Lord.
Yeah.
They put him on a line with Protas today. And I'm like, who are these two? That was like fucking Akeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson. I'm like, Jesus Christ. The hell is happening? What the hell is going on out there? But I mean, it's kind of classic, though. You watch the Canes play a team and you're like, well, they're supposed to be deep. Well, where are those players? Why aren't they performing?
Yeah.
And Chychrun did have the goal. Roy did set it up for him. I'm not even counting the 5-on-3. It might as well be the empty net that Svechnikov scored.
From Jansen. Tom Wilson is Brad Marchand minus a foot in height.
Yeah.
And the hockey skill. Yeah. I mean, by the way, Brad Marchand is another one of those guys that has been a bane in the Canes' existence, and he is just as fired up.
Want to see that guy.
No, and that's the thing. And we've seen it constantly in this building. The crying stuff, the taunting, all those types of things. And I don't mind it. I know what it is, but let's just call it what it is. Spare me all the other stuff that kind of goes along with it. There was another comment about Tom Wilson in here that I'm trying to scroll back into the YouTube comment section. That was again trying to do a little bit of that hockey splaining thing that I always can't stand. Yes, is from Braden. The only reality where Wilson has been an objective he's been an objective positive in this series is in the collective delusion of the lazy fucking narrative of the national broadcasters who don't know shit about others. And I know that is a thing.
But he was the difference in Game 3.
Yes,
I mean, you can't. Or whatever game they won, Game 2.
It was Game 2
because the Canes have won both games here.
It was Game 2.
He was the difference in Game 2. You can't deny that. I mean, but yes, I get it. We've talked about this from a national perspective. It's shiny objects. It's the players that they know. It's the personalities. And the Hurricanes don't have those, or the players that are good Slavin and Aho specifically maybe don't have the type of personality that translates to a wider audience. Not that, Fishy hasn't been working on such things.
Man, he's a new dad. He's tired. Let him live. I saw some of the people in the comment section. There's a little bit of an Aho conversation. Let him power through, man. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good, especially when other people are stepping up. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for tonight's After Dark. Again, big thanks to Bloomin' Blinds for sponsoring the After Dark. So, as always, I explain this to our listeners. The best way to support us is to support our corporate champions. So, contact Bloomin' Blinds today, 919-980-9815. You can also go to the website, bloominblinds.com. No G in there, just bloomin with an N, blinds.com.
And check out their options.
A lot of options.
I would say.
A lot of options, man.
This room darkening thing is a freaking game changer, man. I'm serious.
So contact them today. As we mentioned earlier, you get 10 or more window treatments. You're going to get 10% off. But, that's like the special. But understand it could be something as simple as, hey, you need repair on those blinds and those window treatments. So contact them today, 919-980-9815. Anyway, big thanks to Mike Maniscalco for hanging out with us. We will be back on the main podcast tomorrow. And, of course, we'll have another After Dark on Thursday night, back in the studio. No worries. Good. As somebody said about leaving you be with the technology, it's not like when you're gone, you leave me in charge of the yellow pad.
It's fair.
Nobody wants to see my handwriting. Trust me. I mean, look at this.
I was going to say, just hold it up.
Look at this chicken scratch. Yo.
That bottle of the urine specimen that Maniscalco walked in here with, I'm still trying to recover. And then he chugged it like
did somebody put you up to? Did you lose a bet?
The prop bottle there.
Did you lose a bet on that one? Anyway, we will see y'all tomorrow.